morning, everyone. It's indeed a real pleasure to welcome you at Ifri. As we said before, I think that it's already 3 years without physical presence for this annual conference. So thank you for those who are with us in the room at Ifri, but also for those who are online from across the world. This is the annual conference of our Center for Asian Studies, and I'm very pleased to welcome a distinguished group of both speakers and guests to discuss regional stability and geopolitics in Asia. Thank you all for joining us and for your active, I hope, participation during the day. This conference, as the previous ones, has been made possible by our numerous sponsors, and in particular by the generous sponsor of the Taipei representative office in France, the Bureau de représentation de Taipei en France. And it's an opportunity for me to thank my very good friend, François, who, for your interest, for your participation in our discussion today. François, as you know, you are very welcome at Ifri. It's a particular time for this discussion today, not only because it is the 10th edition of this annual conference, but given the current circumstances. Before starting, I would like to thank, the Center for Asian Studies and its team, particularly François and John, to have prepared this conference. But I would like also to take this opportunity to challenge a little bit, if I may, the title of this conference, which is Asia after the war in Ukraine. And maybe we could rephrase this title with Asia with a protracted war in Ukraine. Because I do think that this war has not started last February, but started 8 years ago in February 2014. And with this perspective, certainly our joint analysis will differ. Three brief points maybe on this war in Ukraine and its consequences. First of all, as a community of think tanks, of experts working on international affairs, this war is very important to be analyzed and to remember several signals which were visible before it started in February 2014. I remember very precisely when President Putin said in 2013, for instance, about Russia and Ukraine, that it was presented as two countries, one people. And I think that this type of sentence is very telling about the political objective, which were already in Putin's mind at that time. So we had, after February 2014, the annexation of Crimea, the operation in Donbass, and something maybe which was under research, under analyzed, was the way in which Ukraine defended itself between 2014 and 2022. Approximately 15,000 killed people, on the Ukrainian side. And it was seen as a sort of big frozen conflict, and it was not. So in terms of analysis, these 8 years are very important to be better understood, maybe to avoid some similar mistake in analysis for the future. So what is the current situation nowadays? I mean, after the statement made by President Putin yesterday, it appears very clearly that Ukraine needs weapons, whereas Russia needs troops. Mobilization, in fact, reflects the military deadlock in which Russia is right now, and in my opinion, will have dramatic political consequences in Russia. In fact, President Putin decided to mobilize to make a colonial war. And it's a particular colonial war because it is made under a nuclear cover. It is what we call in our language an example of sanctuarization aggressive sanctuarization, which should be also analyzed, obviously related to Ukraine, but maybe for other theater. Second observation is related to the Euro-Atlantic region. NATO countries are not at war with Russia. NATO countries are supporting a country which is in a state of legitimate defense, and this country, Ukraine, is attacked by Russia. So since that time, NATO countries, and namely the US, with this disproportion between what is given by the US and by European countries, NATO countries deliver weapons, training, intelligence. That leads to two main observations. The very first one is to remind how the US involvement has been decisive in this context. And second, the fact that the collective West, to use the wording of President Putin, has decided, which is very often, as you know, presented as a declining group of countries in Russia, has decided to resist to the Russian aggression. Point number 3, what are the consequences of this war, I would say, at the global level? And it will be at the core of our discussion today. We had this meeting of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization in Samarkand last week, which in fact reflecting the following situation. Russia, in my opinion, is disconnected from the Western side of globalization, but is not isolated in diplomatic terms, given the fact that you have many countries which condemn Russia, but which do not sanction Russia. Now, the real issue is obviously, and I think it will be also at the core of our discussion, the nature, the future nature of China's support to Russia. Before the starting of this aggression on 24th of February, we had this statement between China and Russia on 4th of February, speaking about an unlimited friendship between both countries, as you certainly remember. And the question is, maybe for our discussion today, how will Beijing continue to support a regime which is military deadlocked? So with these 3 remarks for this introduction, I would like obviously to wish you a very fruitful discussion today. Before I leave you in the very capable hands of François, who, as you know, is the director of our Center for ASEAN Countries at Ifri, I would like to yield the floor to my good friend François Wu, who is a representative of Taipei representative office in France. Cher François, the floor is yours.
Cher Thomas, directeur d'Ifri, dear Thomas, director of Ifri, dear friends from Ifri, bonjour and good morning. My name is François Chih-chung. I'm the ambassador of Taiwan in France. I know Taiwan is a taboo, so I insist to say I come from Taiwan, and Taipei is only the capital of Taiwan. For me, it is a great privilege of mine to be invited to attend this hybrid conference on Asia after the war in Ukraine, reimagining multilateralism and the risk of higher intensity conflict, which is for sure Taiwan's main concern. Let me begin by thanking Ifri for inviting me to this remarkable event. It feels good to have an in-person contact with you after 3 years of COVID-19 crisis. It is also a great honor for me to address you at this annual conference, especially at such a critical moment for democracy worldwide and in the wake of China's unprecedented large-scale military drill around Taiwan. In a time when the world is facing a range of urgent, complex, successive health and geopolitical crises, Taiwan bears extraordinary significance. It proves that the democratic way can outperform authoritarian model in crisis management and achieve long-term development. While Taiwan, as a beacon of democracy in Asia, is more than willing to share its success story of democratization with the world, it has to defend against the military threat, economic coercion, cyber attacks, disinformation campaign, and many other malicious actions from China that seeks to undermine its democratic system and value. The people in Taiwan understand all too well what it is like to be bullied by an authoritarian aggressor. And we have supported Ukraine through a number of concrete actions. Since the early stage of the conflict, we join our democratic partner in condemning the invasion and imposing sanctions on Russia. In the spirit of solidarity and empathy, Taiwan has shipped medical and humanitarian relief supplies to Ukraine and other neighboring countries. A substantial part of this donation was generously offered by the Taiwanese people on their own initiative. We also provide approximately $45 million worth of financial assistance to help the displaced Ukrainians seeking refuge in Poland, Slovakia, and the Baltic states, as well as to help some cities in Ukraine to rebuild their school and hospital. And we will continue to cooperate with other countries to help Ukraine restore peace. We are inspired by the bravery and the tenacity of the Ukrainian. As China attempts to unilaterally change the status quo across the Taiwan Strait, Taiwanese people are also determined to shoulder their responsibility of defending the country and fighting for freedom. On behalf of the people and the government of Taiwan, I would like to take this opportunity to express our deep appreciation to friends around the world, including France, other members of G7, the European Union, and those who have voiced their concern over the situation across the Taiwan Strait. We are reassured that we are not alone. We also call for more solidarity to preserve the peace and the stability across the Taiwan Strait. In this new century, Taiwan is too difficult to be ignored. Taiwan ranks as the world's 21st largest economy. The GDP of Taiwan is more than 1/4 of France, nearly half of Russia, is the size of Turkey and Sweden, two times the size of Vietnam. If you look at the trade power of Taiwan, for the US, we are their 8th trade partner. It is the same as UK. Can you imagine? We have the same power as UK if we only consider our trade relation with USA. We are the 3rd economic partner of Japan after US and China. We have actually also a TSMC company produce 84% of the most advanced chips in the world. Taiwan's high-tech capability and expertise are what the world needs in the process of restructuring and establishing secure, reliable, and a resilient global supply chain in the post-COVID era. The reason why the stability across Taiwan Strait and the Indo-Pacific region concerns the world is that it is one of the major driving forces of the global economy. Any source of instability in the region will have a huge impact on the whole world. Despite the increasing tension in the Taiwan Strait, our government is seeking to manage pragmatically cross-strait ties and establish a consistent, predictable, and sustainable cross-strait relationship. Taiwan is well conscious of its key role as sitting on the front line of the global contest between the liberal democratic order and the authoritarian alternative. We will not give China a reason to invade Taiwan. There is no independent question in Taiwan. We are a sovereign country. The official name is the Republic of China. The Republic of China was established in 1911, earlier than the People's Republic of China. We don't need to declare independence. So for our government, the stability, the status quo is our priority. Again, we will not give China an excuse to invade Taiwan. So there's no problem of declaration of independence. Finally, I call the support of all people who believe on peace and the sustainable development. Taiwan is not part of China. We have a very different public health policy. Our government just declared this morning that Taiwan will leave its frontier in 13 October this year. This means in 3 weeks. The leave of our frontier make Taiwan a very different policy from China. I call the people here not to give China a reason to invade Taiwan. So again, there is no unification or reunification between China and Taiwan. If China use military way to attack Taiwan, it is an invasion to other sovereign country. This is very important that the world have this conscious that Taiwan and China is two sovereign countries. Dear friends, our shared obstacle require all hands on deck. The world may face greater challenges in the future, but I believe that by standing united and keeping our belief in our shared value, we will overcome the challenge that we face. Taiwan has proved to be a reliable and indispensable partner, and the people of Taiwan stand ready to contribute. Let's work together as one of the global good. Let me wish this conference another Ifri's great success. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.